let's get down to business. So the article that I think is pretty obvious, and it states what we already know. The Economist did a report on three economists who did a study of tax evasion in Scandinavia, and it shows that tax evasion is concentrated um, exactly as you would expect. The people who had a moderate income, less than $2 million a year, they paid about 3% less in taxes than they were supposed to. So if we're going to call that tax evasion, that means people like you and me, average Joes, they paid 3% less than they're supposed to. So there is tax evasion in our bracket, but it's 3% of their wealth was untaxed. And people who made around $2 million a year, that second tier, I believe the percentage was 10% evasion. And then when you get to the wealthiest of the wealthy, people who made like $42 million a year, or the top 1% of 1% in income earners, they owned they concentrated 30% tax evasion in that top bracket. 30% of their wealth was not taxed at all. And so to me, it's sort of obvious that this happens. And I think to everyone listening, it perfectly mirrors the income inequality that we see, that we were always talking about. But this has a uniquely detrimental, deleterious effect on somebody said in the chat room, is that all? That's a lot. Like 30% of your taxes annually not being paid. That's a huge gap. And this is the result of people having money overseas, offshore banking, having money in Swiss bank accounts. And based on their data, Scandinavian accounts that are outsourced or are overseas or in Swiss bank accounts represents about 2% of the overall wealth in Scandinavia. On average, worldwide, 4%. 4% of income or of people, wealthy people, share or store their wealth overseas in an offshore bank. That simply means is that 30% we see represented in Scandinavia is actually a conservative look at what we would expect globally. So globally, you're guaranteed 30% or higher in terms of how much the wealthiest of the wealthy skip out on their taxes. Now, this is not breaking news, right? This is stuff that we know, but we usually know this with regard to the wealth disparity. We usually know this with regard to how much wealth is concentrated at the top, how much income, annual income, is concentrated at the top. But we rarely talk about it in terms of how much the top 1%, the top 0.1%, 0.01% actually evade taxes. And by them evading taxes, they are quite literally abdicating their responsibility to the society from which they derive all of their wealth. And what I mean by that is they have no responsibility. Our responsibility to this society is the amount that we pay in taxes into the society, or the amount that we contribute to society. For people who may not pay income taxes, right? You may not make enough to pay income taxes, right? But your entire life's labor, right? We're talking about 50 hours, 60 hours a week. That's being contributed to the society. Not only that, the money you make off that labor, you don't keep that money. You don't save that money for yourself. You don't pass it down to another generation. People on our income bracket, we spend that money. So they get our entire life's labor, and then they get our entire income, all of our capital, right? Our revenue, our income every month, every year, that's our capital that we have to work for. We have to use our labor. So they get our entire life's labor, they get all of our capital, and they get our taxes, whether it be state, local, sales tax, property tax, or if you happen to pay income tax like I do, but you don't make enough to store money overseas or have a Swiss bank account. So it's really a crunch on our bracket to make this society work, because we give it everything. We give it our life, we give it our money, we give it our taxes, we give it our labor, we give it everything. And when we die, we don't have anything. We don't have anything to leave to the next generation. That's because we gave everything that we had to this system. And we have people who share society with us that take 100, 1,000, 10,000 times as much wealth from this same system as you and I. They take this level of wealth from the same system as you and I, but they don't contribute based on what society says they should contribute. They're shirking their responsibility. Here's the best example I can give you. People living in an apartment together, a husband and a wife. Let's say a husband and a wife. And the wife, I mean, hell, she is cooking. She is going to work at a full-time job. She's pouring all her money into the house, right? To the living expenses. When her check comes in, everything gets paid, right? She doesn't have anything at the end of the month. All she got is you, right? That's all she got. She's got you, and that's it. But she pour her money, she pour her labor, she pour her love, she pour her life into that, and she makes $10,000 a year. Let's keep the numbers easy, right? So she's putting everything that she has, from her $10,000 a year to her labor, to her time, to her everything, and she's pouring that into that household. And here you come making your $100,000 a year, and you don't contribute to rent. You don't contribute to groceries. You don't contribute to the work around the house. All you do is take your $100,000 a year that you're freed up. You can't do this without your spouse, right? In this scenario, you guys are in this society together. There is nothing in that house that works without your wife working it, or your girl, or whatever, right? But you're freed up with your $100,000 to go on vacation. Do you see how the imbalance is? You're both living in the same house. You're both contributing, but she's contributing everything that she has. And you got the other person in the relationship only contributes their presence. You're lucky to have me here. You're lucky for me to be in your house. That's exactly what the top 1% is doing to America. They are sitting in the same house that we are building. Our labor is building. Our time is building. Our effort is building. Hell, our money is building. We give them 50 hours a day. We get 50 hours a week, and we give them 50 years of our life. We give them all of our income. We give them all of our taxes. We give them all of our consumption. This system does not work without labor in the working class. And yet you have other people who are benefiting from this household and not contributing to this household. It's as simple as that. We're in an abusive relationship with the top 1%, and they are literally going on vacation with the money that we helped them make, that this society collectively helped them make. There is not a billionaire without the society on which they stood, on the backs on which they stood. Elizabeth Warren did that whole tirade. There's no multi-billion-dollar company without the society that was around it, without the people to work at it, without the people to buy their stuff, without the roads for them to drive on. And yet they are shirking their responsibility to pay into this society based on what society says they should pay. Yeah, Ben, but it was their money to begin with. Sure, it's their money to begin with. I'll give you that. But they don't make that money without the people who are going to buy their stuff. Do you know how powerful? I think that's part of the problem. We don't realize how powerful we are as consumers, that we can destroy Facebook. We can destroy YouTube. We can destroy Google. We can take down Walmart. We don't understand, because divide and conquer, right? Everybody says this. We know the power, but we can never implement the power because we're so divided. But the point is still this: there is no Walmart without our consumption. Hell, there's no Walmart without our labor. There's no Walmart without our taxes being paid into the system so that their employees can get welfare. There's no, and yet Walmart wants to go around, gallivant, and find around the globe to find the cheapest taxes that they could possibly pay. And then they shirk their responsibility and just evade taxes by storing their money overseas. And that's on the corporate level, same as that thing is happening on the person level. So we have leeches in society. Somebody's tuning in for the first time. Oh my God, I didn't know Ben was a socialist. We've been a little busy talking about some other stuff for a minute, but let's keep our eye on the ball here. right? The eye on the ball is that we have to have a more egalitarian society, man. That the people who are listen, you must, in my opinion, you should pay a progressive tax system says this: you pay into or more than what you extract from a society. Everybody try to get this, language and say, oh, well, we pay the top marginal percentage. I say, okay, yeah, what did you take from society? Look at it this way. What did Bill Gates take? Bill Gates took his billions out of this society. Take the society, take our collective government, take our collective people, we the people. Without that, there is no Microsoft. I don't care how brilliant of an idea it is. He cannot be a billionaire without the millions of people who buy and consume his stuff, or the city that provide the education for all the children that grew up to work at Microsoft. And so all this that says, oh, well, they're paying a top marginal tax rate and it's the competition and all that, that's great. I got you. I feel you. We want to be competitive, whatever. But the reality of it is that they are extracting billions of dollars in wealth out of our society. And by them shirking their responsibility to pay taxes, they are abdicating their responsibility to pour back into the society from which they derive their wealth. Tax the hell out of them. And the problem is we got to close all the loopholes that allow them to take their money and put it overseas and hide it. Yeah, Ben, but it's their money. Yes, I get it. It's their money. Yes. Do they make their money without society? So they have a debt to society. Let's just call it that. Your taxes, that's your debt to society. Do we have a screwed up government that we could probably make it more efficient than all? Efficient, Schmidt. I don't know. I don't even know how to make that one up. We could talk about that at a later date. That's often used as a red herring to keep us from ever talking about the fact that we have people who take out of the society. They call us freeloaders, right? They call people who they call a person on welfare a freeloader. Let's think about that. All right. They may take $500 a month out of the system for food. Maybe they're on Section 8, so they get about, let's say, $1,000 worth of rent a month. So right now they're taking out of the system $1,500 a month. What are they putting back in the system? Every penny, every cent that they took out is going right back into the system. Right? Every dime for living goes right back in the system. Every dime for food stamp goes right back into living. If they happen to have a job, every dime of that is gone because they're going to buy something nice. I don't know. However they make it. But they take the Section 8, they take welfare, and every dime goes back into the system. We can argue whether or not you want them to give more to the system. That's fine. But they're giving and they're putting back 100% of what. If you show me a person on welfare that has a savings account, and then maybe we'll talk about why we need to tax that savings account. We'll talk about it. I'm not agreeing to it, but we'll talk about it, and we can basically, argue on the merits. But people in the working class, middle class, lower middle class, every dime that we make goes back into this society and drives this entire machine. There is no machine without our blood, sweat, money, tears, taxes that comes out of us. And what is the level? What is our level of contribution back? What is your level of contribution back into society? Think about that. What do you have left at the end of the month? That money doesn't just disappear into the ether. That's your every penny. That when your balance at the end of the month is zero, like most people, that means you've given 100%. And most of us are actually giving more than that. Most of us are giving 125% because we're living on debt and credit. So we are contributing 100% of everything that we have, our labor, our capital, our taxes going to this system. Now ask yourself, how much are the rest of these people contributing to the system? How much do they have left over at the end of the month? So anyway, I read that article this morning and all that came to mind. I'm like, we really have to get back to some of the fundamentals of a more egalitarian society. I've said a lot here and I'm not undermining what I said. I'm not saying that these people don't contribute anything. I'm saying they're not contributing their fair share. Same thing Bernie Sanders has been saying forever. They're not contributing their fair share. Based on, it doesn't matter to me what an arbitrary tax code says. The tax code, it will always change. I'm saying, are you contributing? What are you contributing based on what you're taking out? That's how we should measure this thing. That's how we should do our tax code. What are you paying back into society based on what you've taken out of society? I mean, you literally are taking billions of dollars out of society. Now, what are you putting back into it? At what percentage? That's all. That's all. You very well could be at 35%. Cool. You know what the average human being on the planet Earth gives back to the society? 150%, 125%. Whatever is the proper representation of our level of debt, because we don't have anything left at the end of the month. We don't have any time left, and we don't have any capital left because we paid all of our capital for rent and food. So you and me and the rest of us, we are giving 100% of everything we have into the society. And you have some people who are walking away and they're giving 2%. And they are the ones who are the millionaires and the billionaires.